Welcome everyone to our webinar today. We have two special guests from the Pietro Beconcini estate in Tuscany. We have Eva Bellagamba, ciao Eva,
Hi,
and
good evening.
Leonardo Beconcini. First thing I'm going to do is put up a little map here. You are in the town of Miniato in the province of Pisa. So everybody knows where you're at. Let's put up this map and you can tell them a little bit about Miniato and the area and topography and weather. And
yes, you see San Miniato is just on the confine of the province of Florence.
okay.
In the 20s, San Miniato was under Florence and now is under Pisa. It's a terra di confine.
Okay. And how
the
large
internal
is,
side of Pisa.
how many people live in San Miniato?
How many people live in San Miniato today?
28,000 people.
Oh, it's a good size city. Okay. Yes, I was reading on the website. I guess you have a truffle festival coming up, right?
Yes, truffle? By this Saturday, it starts for 3 weekends. Okay.
Well, as I mentioned, I'll be in Montalcino very soon, so I would love to stop by, but I don't know.
You will have in Montalcino too some truffles from San Miniato. We have been yesterday in Montalcino enjoying some truffle from San Miniato in a good restaurant there. So for sure you will have some truffle.
Oh, really? And what's the new restaurant?
It was La Drogheria di Franci.
Okay.
It's just close to the Fortezza.
Okay, I'll have to ask some people about that. So as a way of introduction to people watching, this is a estate in Tuscany and Toscana, and of course they work with Sangiovese and other indigenous varietals like Malvasia, Trebbiano, Colorino, Canaiolo. But they also work with, and I won't say what it is yet, we'll keep that as a surprise until the end, but or toward the second half, but they work with a variety that you would never expect to find in Tuscany. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but tell me a little bit about the history of the estate.
Yeah. The winery is the winery of my husband, Leonardo, and he is the fourth generation. So since the beginning of the last century, Beconcini was producing wine here in this place. Till his father, the work was about Chianti, because also we are in Chianti and we have vineyards subscribed to Chianti, under Chianti, and we also produce nowadays a regular Chianti and Chianti Riserva. His father was just producing for the entire life Chianti in the fiasco, in the round bottle with the net.
Sure.
So all the wines that you see today are creations, are ideas of Leonardo Beconcini, who started to study deeply in the old vineyards to find, to select, to do master selections of Sangiovese, Malvasia Nera, Colorino, Canaiolo, so the traditional Tuscan grape varietals. This research started in the early 90s, and the focus, the goal was to find the best Sangiovese.
Yes, this is our goal.
This is our focus, the best Sangiovese in the old vineyards to produce a Sangiovese wine 100%. But during those researches, studies, and so on, we found a lot of interesting things, interesting Malvasia Nera, interesting Colorino, very old. And so the selection was really vast at the end. And so in fact today we have quite a good number of wines derived by the studies and derived by the a lot of interesting things we were finding in the old vineyards.
And the Sangiovese and the Malvasia and Canaiolo things, what are the oldest vines?
Where the old vines, what age were the vines?
Exactly.
Yes, the age of before your father and your grandfather, around the Second World War.
Okay.
That was the age. Yes.
Yeah, more or less.
Your father came after?
Yes. 60, 75 years old.
Yeah, was about the studies.
Yes.
But and we tell after, when you think it's the time to tell, we have also some very old vines that are ungrafted.
Yes.
So they are also
apart pre-phylloxera.
So between the old vineyards about the Second World War Leonardo found also something older that is
Really?
about
Okay.
Prephyllocera and ungrafted vines. So older, like 100 years of age, but even more.
And you know, knowing the history of Italy and the wine history, I know that a lot of vineyards, whether they be in Campania or Tuscany or Piemonte or Umbria, around the Second World War, they were abandoned, those vineyards. I mean, were these vineyards that you have, were they always farmed, or were there years that there was no work at all?
Yes, yes, they remained by the past, the old vineyards. His family, it was quite poor, so they had to do with the vineyards of the past without doing new vineyards. Little things step by step, but the main focus for his father was to maintain the old vineyards. And also here we are very fortunate because we have a good, interesting soil, interesting weather. So we have no problems like fungus, those kind of things. So it was easy, the agricultural work for his father. It was, the vines were safe, were nice. And so he continued to use the old vineyards until Leonardo. With Leonardo, we have started to plant new vineyards by the 90s, step by step, most often.
Okay. And what is how would you describe your territory compared to Chianti Classico? I mean, I know you're not that far from Chianti Classico, but
we are not so far, but it's different. We are very close, closer to the coast, of course. Okay. So we have winds from the coast, and then we are located, you know, between three rivers. The river Arno, which is upper. If you see San Miniato, is just upper, is the confine, and then Elsa and Egola. So it's we are in the middle of three rivers, and you know it means mild weather. Okay. Also because we are under the Apennino chain, and so all the cold winds are stopped by the Apennino chains and by the Alps. And our soil is the bottom of the sea of 3 million of years ago. And so it's full of fossil shells, right, and also salty, very fossil shells everywhere. And it's a clayey soil, very blue clay, white clay, and with these fossil shells mixed.
Now is a white because the fossil shells now it's a fossil. Now it's calcium, and
they are broken, so
it's break up easily. Yeah.
Yes.
Very white,
and
thanks to the presence of the fossil shells.
How many meters above sea level are the vineyards for the most part?
Maximum 300 meters.
Okay.
The maximum is 300 meters upon the sea level. Yeah.
And
yeah. And in the top positions, we have planted Sangiovese, and then the other grape varietals.
Okay. And I know that in Chianti Classico, they have problems sometimes with rainfall because Sangiovese ripens so late. But do you get much rain in your area?
No,
the rain is not a problem. Se abbiamo molta pioggia.
No.
To tell the truth, no.
We have a small quantity of rain in the percentage in the year, but we have clay soil.
See.
We have clay soil, and the vines here don't need the irrigation, absolutely. Okay. Also in the very warm season.
Yes, the roots are always where fresh under. They go very deep, but the rain is not.
It's not a lot.
Not a lot, and we have a lot of winds that clean everything.
I was in Chianti Classico 2 months ago, and they told me that it was a very, very dry season. It was like a drought. They didn't have rain for 3 months, and it was
relatively warm. Year.
No, also here, but the difference is in the composition of the soil. Here we have a clay soil, very fresh soil. In the Chianti Classico, he have the stones, and with the stones, the humidity go deep in the soil, and is impossible for vines take.
Okay. Well, let's talk about. We have 3 specific wines. We'll talk about some of the other ones as well, but 3 specific wines. So let's talk about your Reciso, which is Sangiovese.
Yeah.
Let me put up a bottle here.
Yes. Yes, Reciso is our most representative wine, like we like to say, to describe it. And it's the first wine of the project of Leonardo. The first bottle was 1995, and it was a challenge because you know, this was not and is not a famous area in the panorama of Tuscany. And so to produce a Sangiovese in a moment where international varieties were so popular, it was really a challenge here in this place in San Miniato. But Leonardo wanted to do this project with all his heart, and we are so proud that also today we can say Reciso is our first one and the most representative. And it is an interpretation of Sangiovese in this particular place of Tuscany. And Reciso, if you see the label, facciamo vedere l'etichetta. We have a little surprise because we have done a little restyling just the past week. So it's the first time that we make this label, this new label on the video. Right. Yes, 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 you have that one. In the image, you have the old one. And so Reciso, you see that the label is cut, you have the cut. Reciso means the cut. So properly the label is cut because we want to explain also with the design on the label the reason why this name has been given to this wine. Because what we do, 10 days before the harvest moment, Leonardo, he does an operation vine by vine, and he does a little cutting the half part of the section of the wood where the grape is attached. So the grape is attached to the main wood. Under the attachment of the grape, Leonardo here, he does a cut, and he cut for the half part the wood. In this way, what we do, the maturation continues with the photosynthesis chlorophylliana, so with the upper side of the leaves, while the nutrition by the roots is slower, not interrupt, it's not a drying of the grapes because it's just cut for the half part, but this interruption of some veins of the vine makes this maturation go slower. Why this? Because when we harvest Sangiovese for this wine in October, maybe the weather is rainy because it's the season of the rain can start earlier. And because we have the clay, maybe this energy by the roots can go in the grapes, make the skins broken. In this way, with a slower observation of the maturation of the grapes before the harvest, we can take it under control. It's a slower nutrition by the roots.
Okay. And now the vintage that I tasted was 2017, which across most of Tuscany and most of Italy was a very hot vintage. So what was it? What was that? The conditions like for you that year?
Com'era le 17? Come è andata?
So it's not the best vintage, but not for the quality, for the quantity. Because in the 17 we have frozen in springtime, the 20 and 21 April, and destroy 70% of the new leaves. And
yes, so the problem is the quantity for 17. The quality is very high, but the quantity is just a smaller one.
In the harvest time, we have a small quantity of grape on the vines. Small quantity, but the quality
was good,
very high.
Yes, and I read on the website that this is very traditionally made, right, in large open botti, and you vinify
in the big botti
in a cement.
Yes.
For how many months? 17? It was
no, in Reciso 24 months. 2 anni.
Okay.
2 years in big botti. Yep.
2 anni.
Yes, we keep the tradition for the Sangiovese in the production of this wine. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Now I know that you're in the province of Pisa, and there is a DOC called the Chianti Colli Pisane, but nobody uses that anymore, do they, in your area?
Chianti Colline Pisane? Yes, the most part of people, they don't declare Chianti Colline Pisane. We say Chianti in general, most of
Yes,
all.
we sell a lot of Chianti in export, and it's more clear. Chianti is Chianti, and
Yes.
and that's it. But Reciso in the next vintage start in the new dock for Pisa. Now we have Terre di Pisa Sangiovese, and
Oh, really? Okay.
yes, and in the 19 vintage is Terre di Pisa Sangiovese DOC. 100% Sangiovese is a new dock born 5 years ago, I think, just for Sangiovese 100%.
Okay.
So we will promote this new dock also with Reciso.
Interesting. Yeah, I been writing and educating people about Italian wines for about 20 years now, and I'd like to think I know a lot. And every time I talk to somebody, there's a new appellation, there's a new DOC. So
Yes, there are many appellations. This is a project that derives by a lot of time, a lot of years,
Yes.
because the Pisa province is very vast. So it's a project that has been delineated 5 years ago with more details, and then we are starting to say by 1.5 years to be more
18.
By 3 years ago.
2018.
So we are starting now to promote it. It takes some time, step by step, to take the right decision. It's a very vast territory, Pisa. It's not easy. It's not easy to make everyone to agree all together on the same lines. But I think we are on the right way.
Yeah, that's a common complaint in Italy, trying to get people to agree on things. So it's, you can't have everything.
But we are doing a good job. So step by step, I'm sure we will do something interesting, I hope.
Okay. Now you make another wine that's a blend of Sangiovese and Malvasia Nera.
Yes.
Yes, Maurleo, and
Maurleo,
also that
okay.
one is Terre di Pisa DOC, DOC. Yes, Maurleo. It's an unusual blend that we have had by the 90s. It has been always 50-50 Sangiovese and Black Malvasia. With the Terre di Pisa DOC, we have added a small quantity of
Colorino.
Okay.
And also this is the first wine, Terre di Pisa DOC.
Okay. For people that are watching and may not be familiar with a blend like that, what's the difference? Everybody knows Sangiovese, but not everybody knows Malvasia Nera. So what's the difference with the two varieties in terms of flavors and acidity and tannins?
Yeah, com'è la Malvasia Nera?
The difference is big.
There is a huge difference.
Huge difference. The Black Malvasia is an aromatic grape, very soft, very soft. Very high color, deep color, blue color.
Okay.
And Sangiovese is a acid, tannins, full body, and low color. It's another variety, completely another variety.
Yes, very. We like to pair these two varieties together because the Malvasia Nera can make the Sangiovese with the asperities, with the characteristics typical of Sangiovese, more round just since the beginning, because it's more gentle, we can say. And so we always have matched these two in Maurleo with satisfaction, we have to say. For the new DOC, it was not possible to put 50-50, and we have added this little quantity of Colorino.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the main part is Malvasia Nera and Sangiovese. So it makes more round, more gentle Sangiovese since the beginning, when it is young, and you should wait more time before it becomes more round. Malvasia Nera helps this process to make more enjoyable sooner.
It makes the wine a little more approachable. Okay. And I assume Malvasia is harvested before Sangiovese, yes?
Yeah.
Yes, you are right. Yes,
And
when we harvest Malvasia Nera.
More or less 20 September.
Okay, whereas Sangiovese is more like the first part of October, right?
In October, yes.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And are there years, for example, does Malvasia Nera perform better in a cool year or a little bit warmer year, or is there not that much difference?
Quando si esprime meglio al freddo, quando in un anno più fresco o più caldo? La Malvasia Nera.
Allora, Malvasia Nera love warm season.
Okay.
Love warm season. We grow Malvasia Nera not on the top of the hill, but in the medium hill, because for have big quantity of smell of
Aromatics, right?
yeah,
Aromatic.
aromatic particle, we need the excursion of
Day and night, between day and
yes,
night.
day and night
Mhm.
of temperature. And on the top of the hill, we have the maximum balance of temperature.
Okay.
On the valley, we have different temperature day and night. But Black Malvasia love warm season.
Okay.
And we, come dire, noi non facciamo tutto quello che lei vuole perché dobbiamo ottenere un risultato di grandi profumi. Ecco, we grow in different method, like the direction of Black Malvasia, because we need softness and smell.
Okay.
And we use in the valley, but
She would like the warmer season.
yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Well, now let's talk about this other variety that you work with, and that this is what you're most famous for. And I would imagine, you know, we have some smart people watching here, but I would bet they would have never heard of this. But that your most famous wines are made from a variety that you don't find too much in Italy, but you would find in many parts of Spain, and it's Tempranillo.
Yeah,
So
that's it. That's
how
the
did-
surprise.
yeah, I mean, did your father and you, did you just find Tempranillo in the vineyard one day? When was this planted? How old were the vines?
Yes, yes. So the discovery was made by Leonardo when he was trying to find the best Sangiovese in the old vineyards. He noticed with the agronomist of that times that there were some ungrafted Prephyloxera vines, but the shape was different with respect to the usual Tuscan varieties. So they just noticed that it was something completely different, and also the leaves and so on.
We have the right
And so
photo
they
up here?
started.
Is it
You see
the-
here. This is
Tempranillo? Okay.
This is
Right.
Tempranillo, yes.
you see by this picciolo, which is
Yes.
this way.
Ginocchio.
We say the picciolo where it is attached, the cluster is like a ginocchio, is like a knee. So it's a
Okay.
characteristic of Tempranillo. Yeah.
Right.
And so Leonardo started to paint those old vines of Tempranillo with an X to select them, because they were mixed between the other vines of Sangiovese and other Tuscan varietals. And we started to do some micro vinifications to say, what is this? What's the result? And so on. It took, of course, some years. It was easy to understand that the result was different and interesting. And then we started to do some more selections, some studies with universities. We started with University of Florence for first, and then we went on with Milan, with the Istituto di Arezzo. So the work was done during the years. It was very intense about this new variety without a name. In fact, we were calling that variety X, the X variety, the Xe told in Italian language, in Tuscan dialect. At the end, in 2004, we did the DNA analysis, and it was astonishing and a surprise. Yes, the Xe. So this is why this wine is named Xe, because for many years it was the real name for this variety before we could understand that it was Tempranillo.
Interesting.
We did the DNA analysis. Tempranillo was the result, and so it was something that we could have understood a little bit. We were not sure. When we had the result, it was something crazy, because Tempranillo was not in the list of the grapes admitted in Tuscany.
Right.
And so we started other 5 years of a lot of work with bureaucracy, with universities, until 2009. that was the year that Tempranillo was added in the list of the grapes allowed in the cultivation in Tuscany. Finally, what is important to say is that we didn't plant Tempranillo. We have found all the vines of Tempranillo, Phyllox,
Right.
ungrafted, present here by centuries. Who knows? No one can really say, okay, Tempranillo, it is here by this time. We have some, we can suppose, we have some ideas, because San Miniato, it has always been a very important town in the heart of Tuscany. It was you were obligated to pass through San Miniato. There was the Dogana, there was the Vescovo, the bishop,
Okay.
like today it's a bishop town. So the exchange of people, of religious people, of kings, of a lot of people that was here during the centuries was really huge. And I like to focus the attention on Giovan Battista Landeschi, that was a famous priest, agronomist priest in Europe that were from San Miniato. He invented the terrassments of San Miniato to maintain the hills in a healthy way and to maintain the cultivation in the better way. And for sure, maybe because he was an agronomist, he could exchange seeds and other kind of things with other agronomists around Europe. Then the priests, they were traveling, and then we have had the bishop from Spain here in San Miniato. So the exchange of gods, of seeds, but also if you think the pilgrims, so they were traveling with little pocket of seeds, because the seeds were used like money. If they had to stay in a place, they exchange where the gods exchange, and seeds, it was a good way to exchange something for something else.
That makes a lot of sense. Like that could be the reason why it's there. But I mean, is there any other Tempranillo in Tuscany besides your plantings that you know of?
In this area, Leonardo, when he was a child, he always remember, and he always says that when he was a child, Tempranillo was diffused in a lot of parts of San Miniato. He's sure about this because if you come here now, you can see that the leaf of Tempranillo, the color, is completely different respect to the color of the leaves of the other Tuscan varieties. So it's very evident, the spot of Tempranillo all around. So San Miniato, when some years ago, when you were younger, it was really diffused in all the San Miniato area. Today, we are the unique to have Tempranillo ungrafted. We are speaking also about ungrafted Tempranillo. There are some new wineries, but they have taken maybe the old vineyards away and they've planted during the years new varieties, other kind of varieties. So the presence of ungrafted Tempranillo, it's only in this winery at Beconcini winery. But before it was much diffused all around.
Okay.
We have to say that some new wineries are trying to plant our Tempranillo. They are starting to use our Tempranillo because we have done massal selection, and then we have done a very sharp and clonal selection after 15 years of studies. And so we have each year a good quantity of new little vines of Tempranillo, and some people all around, they use to plant because it's interesting to have a Tempranillo from San Miniato.
Yeah, and I'm sure that they've tasted your wines, which are excellent. So I'm sure that they see that it can be successful. Right.
Yes, it's something new to say in the panorama of the viticulture. Of course, about Tuscany, we know everything. There are so famous wines and so on, but this is an argument that can create curiosity, interest, and also this Tempranillo, perfectly adapted to our terroir, express different flavors respect to the Spanish Tempranillo. So it's really a unique wine.
Yeah, I tasted it and I immediately noticed it wasn't Sangiovese, and I don't try many Spanish wines, but it, I guess because I knew it was Tempranillo, it did smell like that, taste like that. But there's flavors I found of like coffee, of cacao, of different brown herbs like oregano, things like that. So how do you describe the wine?
Yes, about Sangiovese, we have also some balsamic notes here. Yes, it's a characteristic of this territory, the balsamic notes. It's the main I have been without enjoying wine for 1 month, and the first thing that I have been feeling on my mouth, it was the balsamic notes and some peppery notes. It was just something happened yesterday, so it's just, oh mamma mia. After some time I don't taste our wines. These are the sensations that I have for first, and then yes, we have notes of fruit, of red fruits, and some minerality notes and some
Yes.
salty notes. We like
Yes.
to say that when we are attending some wine fairs, and often we are close to wineries that they do, for example, we are speaking about Chianti Classico. A lot of people, when they pass tasting the Chianti Classico Sangiovese and they pass to taste our Sangiovese, they say, hey, but did you put salt in this wine? So it's really evident. It happens very often, and that's funny. That's funny.
Well,
And
it
it's
is funny, but I guess they
characteristic.
remember your wine. And maybe that's not the way you want them to remember it, but they remember.
Yes, yes, but
That's the one with the
just to
salt in
say
it,
that
right?
the
Right.
minerality notes are more evident. Hey, but did you put salt? Oh no, no salt. But it's
And-
okay. It's okay.
Unlike the Reciso, which is Sangiovese, with this wine you vinify, you mature it in smaller barrels, right?
So Sangiovese is in big barrels, the maturation, the vinification, how many days you take the wine on the skins. It's a long staying on the skins.
Preciso, yes, we make a very long maceration. 5-6 weeks.
It's very long, yeah.
Yes, very long maceration. We need the total extraction to the skin.
By the skins.
By the skin.
Of course, the skins are perfect.
Yes, absolutely.
When we do the harvest, we harvest with students, and they escape because Leonardo is crazy about this. The grapes must be perfect. You have to treat with perfect fingers.
Yeah.
And when they arrive at the cellar, of course, they must be perfect because we keep the wine on the skins for such a long period. So we must be sure of the product coming from the vineyards.
Perfect mature and very hard skin.
See,
Yeah,
so strong and intense.
Yes.
We must take everything by the skins. So the way is to keep the wine on the skins for such a long period.
Our winemaking, it's not modern. Yes, we use technology, the constant temperature, but we don't use selected yeast, and for fermentation we use just concrete container.
Okay.
All inside a concrete, and long maceration. We select the grape when in the vineyards and in the cellar with the select line, and in the container we have very good skin of grape. The long maceration means distinctive personality aromas. The fast means yes, very soft, but massive aromas.
Yeah.
And then in the wood, 24 months in wood, okay?
Yes,
That's
24 months
in big wooden barrel, in botti.
Okay. Now you have a second Tempranillo called, sorry, at the bottom here. First one is Campi Nuovi, and then you
it's
have
a long name.
Vigna Le Nicchie.
Vigna Le Nicchie.
And this is from the Pre-Phylloxera vines, correct?
Yes, that's the wine by the Pre-Phylloxera vines. It's only 3,000 bottles a year, and it means Vigna Le Nicchie means a vineyard on the shells, because in Tuscan dialect the nicchie are the shells.
The shells, okay.
Yes, that's the meaning of this wine.
I'll put a photo of this up. So you think the vines here are over 150 years old, something like that?
Of the Tempranillo? Of the Vigna Le Nicchie are more than 100 years of age, for sure.
There's the bottle there.
Yes.
Pre-Phylloxera, over 100 years of age. It was a vineyard that was here just present when the father of his grandfather was here at the beginning of the last century, and he started to do wine and other kind of stuff here. So it was the only vineyard present when Beconcini stabilized the house here.
Okay, and I imagine the yields for these vines must be extremely small.
Extremely small what?
La resa,
La resa,
Ah,
sorry, I
piccolo.
didn't understand. I didn't understand. Com'è la resa?
La resa is very small, but it's impossible analyze the resa, the quantity for per hectare, because this kind of vines, it's a very different one by one. We have a big vine like trees. We have more softer vines. We have a old vine give us 10 kilos of grape, and we have another with just 1 kilo. It's very different, but we grow in very, no, non si dice liberty, in libertà, completa libertà.
In freedom, they are this vineyard is it has the freedom to express itself. We don't do anything about cutting, adjusting. We do nothing.
Right.
It's completely free. And like he was explaining,
are these Albarello vines?
Alberello?
No. It's the double spirit cordon.
Okay.
Double spirit cordon.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
And how is this wine matured? This is in barrique, right?
This wine is matured in barrique.
Barrique to no.
And
French
to
oak.
French oak. What percentage in barrique? And
I don't remember this vintage, but we use 5 hectoliters and barrique. Normally we use French oak from Taranceau and Raymond. For this wine, we need a lot of oxygen, and Raymond is more impact. Taranceau very, very elegant, and after we mix.
Okay, and you said you make about 3,000 bottles of this, correct?
Yes, more or less. More or less. It's not the same.
yes, also because what is fundamental, we didn't tell you, I'm sorry. When we harvest in plastic boxes, and we do a layer in each plastic box, and then we dry the grapes for 1 month before pressing.
You do? Okay.
So we do this operation, and we lose the 30% of weight and of quantity through this operation of light drying. We just lose the water. It's more concentrated, and then after 4 weeks we go in pressing the grapes.
Have you always done this, or was this just an experiment?
Always.
That
With
was
this
better?
wine we do always. We have started since the first vintage to do, and we want to express something more intense, something out of the schemes with this wine.
Okay, and so 3,000 bottles of the pre-phylloxera, and how many bottles of the other Tempranillo?
The XA is 23,000 bottles.
Okay, and you make how
And then
many?
we have another Tempranillo, which is
wait.
a Fresco di Nero, which is a rosé, which is about other
3,000-4,000.
3,000-4,000
Yes, okay, yeah, you have a Tempranillo rosé. And what is your total production of everything? How many bottles?
In total, we produce about 110,000 bottles.
So Tempranillo maybe is about 20% of your production.
30%.
30%, okay.
Is the 30% in the vineyards? Is 30% is about Tempranillo. Speaking
Okay.
about vineyards.
And the vintage I tasted is 2015. Is that the current release?
Sì, Vignale Nicchie is a 15 vintage,
So you
while
hold,
18 is the XA.
okay, so you hold the wine back for a long time, don't you? Almost like Brunello. Yeah.
We keep the wines in maturation for such a long. We keep a lot of. We have a lot of space to keep the wines sleep and mature and grow in bottle.
Right. And I always ask producers, with their wines, especially with indigenous varieties, what foods they like to have with this. So, I've asked many producers of Chianti Classico, Sangiovese, what they like. But what do you like pairing with your Tempranillo? What foods?
With the Prefilloxera one, it's not easy because, you know, it's a very intense full body wine with a lot of nuance, spicy notes, because, you know, there are the characteristics, the main characteristic of Tempranillo that we maintain, because is the variety. So the spicy notes are very intense, and the fruit is very intense. And then with this operation of drying the grapes, it's a very alcoholic wine, also 15.5 alcohol points. And our favorite pairing is with Dolce Forte, which is wild animals like a wild boar or the wild rabbit that we cook for many hours in a lot of spices, and then at the end we add the chocolate. It's a recipe from the Renaissance. It's
Really?
something typical of Tuscany. It's called the Dolce Forte. You because unite dolce, a lot of sourness, a lot of sweet flavors, and it's a very interesting and intense, and for winter season most of all, because it's very, very heavy. And most of all, also with agnello, with lamb. You need some meat. We are speaking about meat because it's easier to think about such a deep, intense red wine. Meat that cook for many hours. T-bone steak, no. T-bone steak is reciso at all. This is a wine that you need some dishes with some also presence of fruits, that is macerated, of vegetables that are macerated, long cooking, or maybe some cheese, like not like Parmesan, but quali formaggi magari del sud, come il caciocavallo. Ecco, you need something very intense, spicy, that frizza la lingua, something very intense to pair with this one.
I'll have to ask about that Dolce Forte when I'm in Montalcino next week. So that sounds great. And then you make a little bit of Vinsanto as well. You make two different versions of Vinsanto, which I love. I wish more people would drink Vinsanto. And one is an Occhio di Pernice, which is Eye of the Partridge.
We have also deep tradition in Vinsanto and Occhio di Pernice. So we also use this kind of wines.
And the Caratello is the traditional one, which is the white. Well, I guess you use a little bit of Sangiovese, right? Yes. And then the other one, the Aria, is the Occhio di Pernice.
Sangiovese 100%, the Occhio di Pernice, yes. In Caratello we use Malvasia Nera, Trebbiano, Colombana, and Malvasia Bianca in the traditional Vinsanto.
Okay.
And Sangiovese just for Aria.
The Caratello, of course, it refers to the very small wood, like 50 liter.
Aria is the smaller bottle.
Yeah.
Caratello is the other. Aria is 375 and Caratello is 500.
Okay. Great. If there's any questions, I'm looking to see if anybody has any questions here, but this is fascinating. It's the first time I read about your wines previously, and I thought, you know, to make Tempranillo in Tuscany, it's very strange. So, but you know, as you said, it's something different. And I just think there's so many examples out there of Chianti Classico or Chianti or Sangiovese. It's like it's great to have something else. So
yes, sure, of course. You know, we pointed that Reciso is our most representative wine, is the Sangiovese. So we live for Reciso and Sangiovese, of course. But this was a challenge that we could not be blind. Ungrafted vines is not very often, it's not so common all around. In Tuscany, Prefilloxera is not so common. And then this it's XA variety that for many years we had no idea what it was. And then the discovery of Tempranillo, all the history that can be all around, it's always really something interesting. And we sell our wines all around the world. And it's always a story that people is in love to hear and to tell again to other people. It's interesting.
Great.
It's interesting.
You mentioned you export to about, is it 60 countries or so? Or?
Yes, we export in many countries with little importers, and also in Chicago we have an importer, and we export in Australia, Japan, Europe.
I'm curious. I live in Chicago, and there's so many importers, but some of them are very small. But who imports your wine here?
Morgan Imports, Paolo Cerruti and John Butera.
Oh, Paolo, yeah.
Paolo Cerruti and John Butera has done the selection
Yeah.
of, we work with them too.
I've been a friend of Paolo for many, many years, and John as well. So I didn't realize they had your wines. Okay. Otherwise, I would have told them about this webinar today. I'm sorry, I didn't know. I've been so busy
Don't
lately.
worry, don't.
Okay.
You know so many wineries. Don't worry, don't
that's
worry.
true. But
He will if we have occasion to come again to US, maybe we can do a tasting together. We can do an event. We can taste together again.
Okay, that would be great. Well, thank you, Eva and Leonardo. Appreciate your time.
Thank you,
Grazie
Mr.
per
Tom.
l'opportunità.
Grazie a lei, gentilissimo, siamo felici.
Okay. Io spero visiterò molto presto.
È il benvenuto. Quando vuole
aspettiamo.
venire,
Grazie.
noi siamo qua, volentieri.
Okay.
Thank you. You are
Thank
more
you.
than welcome.
Ok. Buona giornata. Ciao.
Buona giornata, arrivederci, bye bye, thank you.
Ciao.